welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're moving into part 2 of Esdras Eagle. And in this one, we're going to do a couple things. I'm going to look at this Britannica article about the second book of Esdras because I really want to understand what this book is, how it was composed, where it comes from, everything about it, right? Because I don't want to just like go to some book that I don't know, read a prophecy and then accept it as real. So I want to know how authoritative this is, if this, and we already kind of have the answer to that because the book has already spoken about the Apocrypha. But anyway, so we're going to look at Britannica. We're going to look at the concept of Seers. We're going to actually read chapters 11 and 12, where you have the vision itself and then the interpretation of it. And then after that, I want to look at the various nations, empires that have used the eagle as their symbol. And I found some interesting things there. Some stuff that you probably already know, but I learned a few things there that I didn't know before. So before we move into the video, let's do the missionary photo highlight. This one is from Tyler Cragen. He is my friend that started a YouTube channel early on. When I started my channel, he decided to make one as well, and his channel is called the Greatest Cause. Okay, so I'll put the link for his channel down in the description below. It's also on the home page of my channel where I have my recommended channels. So he says, "Hey Jared, this is Tyler Cragen. I served in the Washington Spokane mission. Part of that mission is in Grand Forks, British Columbia." Okay, so somebody is in Canada, and Spokane. That's pretty close to where my mother-in-law lives. She lives in the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho area, and the next kind of bigger city to them that you would go to would be Spokane. So anyway, I served in 2017. My mission ended sooner than I anticipated due to personal health issues. This has ultimately been good. This has ultimately been for my good. I've been through a lot and have learned a lot since my mission. My eternal perspective, as well as my body, has expanded. my body has expanded quite a bit too since the army. Probably like I've gained like 1,000 pounds. My YouTube channel has sort of become my new mission now. It certainly brings me closer to the Lord. Anyways, thank you for all you do. I'm grateful for your humility and your willingness to put good information out there. All right. Well, thank you, Tyler. And again, I would recommend doing a YouTube channel to anybody. I hope that others will, because you really do learn a lot for yourself as you do one. It's the concept of when you're a teacher of a class or whatever, the teacher is usually the one that learns the most. So I would highly recommend doing a YouTube channel or some sort of social media thing to spread the gospel or explore these ideas. Okay, so let's dive into the Britannica article. Second book of Esdras, apocryphal work. Second book of Esdras, also called fourth book of Ezra, or Ezra Apocalypse, abbreviation to Esdras. Apocryphal work printed in the Vulgate. The Vulgate, if you're not familiar with it, this is basically it's essentially the Catholic Bible, the Latin Bible, whatever you want to call it. So they have it in there. They have a few other books of the Apocrypha in their version. It continues, and many later Roman Catholic Bibles as an appendix to the New Testament. The central portion of the work, chapters 3 through 14, consists of 7 visions revealed to the seer Salathiel Ezra. Now, see, this right here is why I want to look into seers again, because as far as I'm aware, our church does not recognize Ezra, and I don't think anyone else really recognizes Ezra as anything more than a priest. In Judaism, he would be referred to as a Cohen. So he wasn't a high priest. He was a priest, so a descendant of Aaron. And also, excuse me, during his time, there were actual prophets. Um, so we're gonna look at that in just a minute. Well, no, you know what? Let's just do it now. Okay, so let's look at Seers. I'm going to the church website. Okay, again, I have not been able to find anywhere that he's been referred to as a seer within the canon of Scripture. I used the Scripture Citation Index. I searched the Scriptures for the word seer. Shows up a bunch in First, Second Samuel, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles. Um, let's see, and then Amos. But in none of these is the word seer tied to Ezra. So second Esdras, or I don't, maybe even first Esdras, referring to him as a seer. It seems like that is the only place where he's called a seer. Okay, so going to okay, so why is this important? Because one thing that I'm trying to understand is that if this is true, if this is a true prophecy, well, prophecies come through prophets and seers, typically, don't they? In the modern day church, we don't receive prophecy or inspiration for the whole church or the world. Only the prophet can do that, right? And so Ezra was instrumental in doing the second return from Babylon. There was the first return, and then he was instrumental in bringing more of the Jews from Babylon to the land of Israel. But as far as I can tell, that's mostly what he did, as well as kind of like revive Judaism. I'm going to call it Judaism, but revive um, the belief of the people, the church, so to speak. He was kind of like a restoration type figure. So I could see that maybe he would be um, a prophet or seer, but again, it's not he's not referred to as one. If we pull up our let's see LDS Old Testament timeline, let's just pull up this one. Okay, bear with me. Close out of this. We can see that at his time, during his time, this is kind of blurry, sorry, but you see Ezra right here, and then around his time, you see um, Zechariah, which is a prophet. You have Malachi, that's a prophet. When we look at the Jewish Tanakh, which it's just another word for the Old Testament, they divide up the Old Testament into three portions. You've got the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, the books of Moses. You have the Nevi'im, or the prophets. And here's a list of all, I guess, that they would consider prophets, right? Joshua, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, etc. And then the third part is the Ketuvim, or the scriptures, or also called the writings, where you have Psalms, Proverbs, Job, Ruth, um, you have Ezra. Interestingly, Daniel is there. I don't know why Daniel wouldn't be considered one of the prophets, but anyway, from their point of view, from a modern day Jewish point of view, Ezra falls under the writings. Here's another website here, jewishvirtuallibrary.org, which breaks it down more, just a little bit more. Under the Navi, it actually has the 12 prophets. So these are like the lesser, the minor prophets, and then you have over here the more major ones. And then still in this one, Ketuvim, you have Daniel and Ezra over here. Again, Daniel, I believe, is referred to as a prophet. I'm not sure, uh, but Ezra, okay, okay, Ezra. Oh, okay. Prophet in the Hebrew Bible, with whom the reestablishment of Judaism in Jerusalem of the 5th century BCE is associated. Oh, well, here on Jewish Virtual Library, they're calling him a prophet. What does it say for Daniel? It doesn't have one for Daniel. Oh, it's only these ones that have like dotted lines underneath. The other ones don't have these little things that pop up. Okay, so I'm wrong. Maybe they do consider him a prophet. It's just weird. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Okay, so according to this, according to jewishvirtuallibrary.org, they're calling Ezra a prophet, even though for whatever reason he's not included in the Navi, but then again, neither is Daniel. Okay, let's go to the church website. Let's look at Seer, just as a refresher. A seer is a revelator and a prophet also. And when necessary, he can use the Urim and Thummim, or holy interpreters. There have been many seers in the history of God's people on this earth, but not so many as there have been prophets. So prophets are more numerous than seers. And then we read in Mosiah chapter 8, a seer is greater than a prophet, and a gift which is greater can no man have. Joseph Smith is the great seer of the latter days. In addition, the first presidency and the Council of the 12 are sustained as prophets, seers, and revelators. And then here's other references. Now, let's look at um, what's this portion? What's this called again? Guide to the Scriptures for seer. A person authorized of God to see with spiritual eyes things that God has hidden from the world. He is a revelator and a prophet. In the Book of Mormon, Ammon taught that only a seer could use special interpreters or a Urim and Thummim. A seer knows the past, present, and future. Okay, see, now this makes sense. If Ezra was a seer, then it would make sense that he'd be able to look into the future, see Ezra's Eagle, which seems to pertain to either the Roman Empire or the remnants of the Roman Empire, well into the future um, after his time. Anciently, a prophet was often called a seer. Joseph Smith is the great seer of the latter days. In addition, the first presidency and the Council of the 12 are sustained as prophets, seers, and revelators. This is a. Okay, and then it goes into some scriptures there. Okay. Now, I looked over here. Okay, this is under the topical guide, and neither in of course the scripture citation index would actually be more thorough, but it doesn't show it here either that Ezra is referred to as a seer in the canon of scripture. So anyway, that's just it's an interesting thing. So consisting of 7 visions revealed to the seer Salathiel Ezra, was written in Aramaic by an unknown Jew around AD 100. Okay, so my question is, did this actually happen, these visions, and how were they preserved and then afterwards recorded? Now, that could happen any number of ways, I suppose. I guess we just don't know in what form these visions were preserved, but that's a question. But it seems like the scholarship thinks that the actual book was written in 100 AD. In the mid 2nd century AD, a Christian author added an introductory portion, chapters 1 and 2, to the Greek edition of the book, and a century later, another Christian writer appended chapters 15 and 16 to the same edition. It is possible that the whole Greek edition, from which all subsequent translations were derived, the Aramaic version having been lost, was edited by a Christian author because there are passages in the central Jewish section that reflect Christian doctrines on original sin and Christology. Well, or maybe it's real and Christianity really is real, and so maybe that's something that someone tried to hide, was that he was talking about Christian concepts. I don't know. Second Esdras is concerned primarily with a future age that will succeed the present world order. The occasion for its composition, now remember it was composed in 100 AD, so the occasion for its composition was the fall of Jerusalem to the Romans in 70 AD. So if it was written in 100 AD, this would be 30 years later. right? Which had drastic effect on the nationalistic aspirations of the Jews and on their view of Judaism. Um, so we're not going to read this last part. So, so I think right now that's how I'm going to view it. I'm going to view it as it seems pretty sure that it was written in 100 AD. What's not so clear is if it's somehow compiled or preserved or whatever the seven visions of Ezra. I don't know if that actually happened. Nobody does, but it does seem sure that the book, as we have it right now, was written in 100 AD. It seems that it was added to by Christian authors based off of what we just read, but the central part of the book, if it is true, would be the more original portion of the book. Okay, so I am going to read. There's several different places that you can find this, but because this one is a little bit like the website, it doesn't have like ads or anything over here to the side. I'm going to read from this one. This is ebible.org. Um, I came across this as I was looking for where you could read it, and this is early Jewish writings, and then it talks about Second Esdras, and it has all these different quotes from different scholars about it. So this is going to probably have to be a separate video, but just be aware of this if you want to dive into it now. I'm putting all these links down in the description so you can go look at whatever you want to. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with chapter 11. Okay. I'm going to do more videos after this because there's going to be more to look into, but I thought it'd be good to go ahead and actually read it all together. So it says, starting in verse 1. In fact, let me make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, let's do it like that. Okay. Then I saw a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. Okay. Now, remember, this is very similar um, in language to the book of Revelation. I don't know of any other places in the Bible where it talks about beasts coming up out of the sea other than Revelation. And we do know that Revelation, the book of Revelation, is related to the book of Daniel in terms of the beasts. Um, if you want to learn more about that, go see my playlist called The Book of Daniel, The Book of Revelation. Um, you know what? I might as well just LDS King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Let's pull this up again. I did it in the last video, but it'd probably be good to have up in this one too. Okay, again, King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, which corresponds to the beasts. I'm just going to pull up this though, is basically a timeline of these superpowers and these different worldly powers that have basically oppressed the Jews or been a problem to the people of the Lord, the covenant people. Okay, so we're talking about the head of gold. That's the Babylonian Empire, which corresponds to the first beast in Daniel's vision. And the first beast was a lion, which a lion is viewed as like the king of the beasts, right? That had eagle's wings, which was to represent speed and how quickly it could move around, like armies, invasions. So a lion with eagle's wings, and then this portion here, which is the Median and Persian empires, it was represented by a bear. Okay, so lion, bear, and then the Greek or Macedonian Empire under Alexander the Great. It was a leopard with 4 heads. Okay, so again, lion, bear, leopard, and then the legs. As far as beasts go, it was not assigned, like a specific animal was not assigned or seen in relation to the Roman Empire. It was described as having 10 horns and sharp teeth and things like that, but there wasn't an actual animal that corresponded to this part. So Ezra's eagle seems to be inserting or asserting that if there was a beast associated with the Roman Empire, that it would be an eagle, and it seems that it's actually referring to the latter days down here, the feet and toes of clay, which are the remnants of the Roman Empire. And we're going to go into that. That's where we're going to go into this symbolism here of like the different countries, United States, Germany, and other places that have used an eagle as their national symbol. There's an interesting history there. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so an eagle, 12 wings, 12 feathered wings, and 3 heads. And I saw, and behold, she spread her wings over all the earth, and all the winds of the air blew on her, and she gathered together. So this sounds like an empire. You could say it's the United States. You could definitely say uh, the Roman Empire would definitely be a good candidate to fit this description. It essentially was over all the known Earth, with the exception of the Asian countries. But like back in those days, they were basically it was basically the empire of the world. And I beheld, and out of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers and small. But her heads were at rest. The head in the midst was greater than the other, yet rested it with the residue. Okay, so the middle head was greater, but it rested with the residue. Moreover, I beheld, and lo, the eagle flew with her feathers and rained upon the earth, and over them that dwelt therein. And I saw that all things under heaven were subject unto her, and no man spake against her, no, not one creature upon the earth. And I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose up her talons, and spake to her feathers, saying, Watch not all at once, sleep every one in his own place, and watch by course. But let the heads be preserved for the last. And I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst of her body. So I'm assuming, if this was America, that kind of sounds like elections, the body, the country electing um, presidents. So if you want to take it that route, I could see how that would be the case. And I numbered her contrary feathers, and behold, there were 8 of them. And I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather, and reigned over all the earth. And so it was that when it rained, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more. So the next following stood up, and reigned, and had a great time. And it happened that when it rained, the end of it came also, like as the first, so that it appeared no more. Then came there a voice unto it, and said, Hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth so long, this I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more, there shall none after thee attain unto thy time, neither unto the half thereof. Now this is the part where people are the interpretation or the theory is that this could be an American president that had the longest time in office, Roosevelt, right? Then arose the third, and reigned as the other before, and appeared no more. So when it will, when it with all the residue, one after another, as every one reigned, and then appeared no more. Then I beheld, and lo, in process of time, the feathers that followed stood up on the right side, that they might rule also. And some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. Some of them were set up, but ruled not. After this I looked, and behold, the 12 feathers appeared no more, nor the 2 little feathers. And there was no more upon the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested, and 6 little wings. Then I saw also that 2 little feathers. Okay, so 6 little wings, and then 2 little feathers. Okay, then I saw that 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6. Okay, so these are feathers as well, the 6 little wings. Then I saw also that 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6 and remained under the head that was upon the right side, for the 4 continued in their place. And I beheld, and lo, the feathers that were under the wing thought to set themselves up and to have the rule. And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but shortly it appeared no more. And the second was sooner away than the first. Now, this has been postulated to be the Trump, right? He didn't serve 2 terms, and then we're going to see what happens with Biden, but it's being theorized that Biden is this second feather. And I beheld, and lo, the 2 that remained thought also in themselves to reign. And when they so sought, behold, there awakened one of the heads that were at rest, namely, it was in the midst, it that was in the midst, so the middle head, for for that was greater than the 2 other heads. And then I saw that the 2 other heads were joined with it, and behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the 2 feathers under the wing that would have reigned. But this head put the whole earth in fear, and bare rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth with much oppression, and it had the governance of the world more than all the wings that had been. So that sounds kind of like a dictator. Um, and I know where some people go with that. They're thinking that it's like the Antichrist, which I don't go with that interpretation. I don't believe that there's a one person Antichrist. I do think that there's the great and abominable church, but for all my thoughts on that, go see my playlist called Antichrist. And after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more, like as the wings. But there remained 2 heads, which also in like sort ruled upon the earth and over those that dwelt therein. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was upon the left side. Then I heard, it says head, but then I heard a voice which said unto me, Look before thee and consider the thing which thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, as it were, a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, so lion chased out of the woods, and then talking to the eagle, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art thou, art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts, whom I have to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? Okay, this referring to Daniel's 4 beasts, right? Art thou not it that remains, or remainest, of the 4 beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? And the 4th came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth, which must with much wicked oppression in so long time dwelt upon the earth with deceit. And that sounds like, secret combinations. For the earth hast thou for the earth hast thou not judged with truth. For thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Um, which that's kind of an interesting statement because it makes. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but something that happened in 2001, and then we retaliated. Therefore, it is thy wrongful dealing come unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also hath looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy terrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. Okay, that was chapter 11. Now let's go to chapter 12. And it came to pass whiles the lion spake these words unto the eagle, I saw, and behold, the head that remained and the four wings appeared no more. And the two went unto it and set themselves up to reign, and their kingdom was small and full of uproar. And I saw, and behold, they appeared no more, and the whole body of the eagle was burnt, so that the earth was in great fear. Then awakened I out of the trouble and trance of my mind, and from great fear, and I said unto my spirit, Lo, this hast thou done unto me, in that thou searchest out the ways of the highest. Lo, yet I am weary in my mind, and very weak in my spirit, and little strength is there in me for the great fear wherewith I was afflicted this night. Therefore will I now beseech the highest that he will comfort me unto the end. And I said, Lord, that bearest rule, if I have found grace before thy sight, and if I am justified with thee before many others, and if my prayer indeed be come up before thy face, comfort me and show me thy servant the interpretation and plain deliverance of this fearful vision, that thou mayest perfectly comfort my soul. For thou hast judged me worthy to shew me the last times. And of course, that's referring to the last days. And he said unto me, This is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. But it was not expounded unto him, therefore now I declare it unto thee. Behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon the earth, and it shall be feared above the kingdoms that were before it. Uh, Now, again, this could be referring to the Roman Empire, or it could be talking about America. Who knows? In the same, in the same shall 12 kings reign, one after another, whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12. And this do the 12 wings signify, which thou sawest. As for the voice which thou heardest speak, and thou sawest not to go out from the heads, but from the midst of the body thereof, is the interpretation. That after the time of that kingdom there shall arise great strivings, and it shall stand in peril of falling. Nevertheless, it shall not then fall, but shall be restored again to its beginning. And whereas thou sawest the 8 small under feathers sticking to her wings, this is the interpretation. Okay, wait. So he's saying that, okay, the voice that came out of the midst of the body. That is, there shall arise great strivings, and it shall stand in peril. So it doesn't sound like that's voters or anything. I don't know. It could. I don't know. I'll go over this in later videos because I need time to process all this and think about it. Okay, so the 8 small feathers sticking to her wings. This is the interpretation that in him there shall arise 8 kings, whose times shall be small, and their years swift. So up here you have the 12 wings. Okay, let's go back. Sorry. In the same time, okay, so behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon the earth, and it shall be feared above all kingdoms that were before it. In the same shall 12 kings reign, one after another, whereof the second shall begin to reign and shall have more time than any of the 12. Okay, so you have those first 12 kings. The second one has the most time. Okay, then the voice out of the midst is great strivings, and then the kingdom basically being restored to as it was at first. And then, and whereas thou sawest the 8 small under feathers sticking to her wings, this is the interpretation that in him there shall arise 8 kings, whose times shall be but small, and their years swift, and 2 of them shall perish, the middle time approaching. 4 shall be kept under until the end begin to approach, but 2 shall be kept unto the end. And whereas thou sawest 3 heads resting, this is the interpretation. In his last days shall the Most High raise up 3 kingdoms, and renew many things therein, and they shall have the dominion of the earth. So the 3 heads are kingdoms. And of those that dwell therein with much oppression, above all those that were before them, therefore they are called the heads of the eagle. Because with much oppression above all those that were before them. So before the 3 eagle heads, there was not as much oppression as there was during the 3 eagle heads. And it's saying that these are the Most High raise up 3 kingdoms. Yeah, I'm gonna have to really think about this. For these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness, and shall finish his last end. And whereas thou sawest the great head appeared no more, it signifieth that one of them shall die upon his bed, and yet with pain. For the 2 that remain shall be slain with the sword. For the sword of the one shall devour the other, but at the last shall he fall through the sword himself. And whereas thou sawest 2 feathers under the wings passing over the head, that is on the right side, it signifieth that these are they whom the highest hath kept unto their end. This is the small kingdom, in full of trouble, as thou sawest. This is the small kingdom, okay? And the lion, whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood, and roaring, and speaking to the eagle, and rebuking her for her unrighteousness, with all the words which thou hast heard, this is the anointed. And of course, everyone understands that that's the Messiah. If you were a Jewish reader, you would think, oh, it's Mashiach. If you're a Christian, then you know that it's Christ. Okay, this is the anointed, which the highest hath kept from them, and for their wickedness unto the end. He shall reprove them, and shall upbraid them with their cruelty. For he shall set them before him alive in judgment, and shall rebuke them, and correct them. For the rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy those that have been pressed upon my borders, and he shall make them joyful until the coming of the day of judgment. Which I'm going to say that that's the second coming, whereof I have spoken unto thee from the beginning. He shall set them before him alive in judgment, and shall rebuke them and correct them. For the rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy, those that have been pressed upon my borders, and he shall make them joyful unto the coming of the day of judgment, whereof I have spoken unto thee from the beginning. Okay, this is the dream that thou sawest, and these are the interpretations. Thou only hast been meet to know this secret of the highest. Therefore write all these things that thou hast seen in a book, and hide them, and teach them to the wise of the people, whose hearts thou knowest may comprehend and keep these secrets. But wait thou here thyself yet 7 days more, and it may be shewed thee whatsoever it pleaseth the highest to declare unto thee. And with that he went his way. And it came to pass that all the people saw the seven. Okay, I'm not going to read past this point. There might be more, but I'll save that for a future study. Okay, so there's a lot to think about there. I want to do my own work and just kind of like see what I think, because it's unclear. Obviously, it's unclear exactly what's being talked about here, other than the fact that it has something to do with the Roman Empire, whether that be the Roman Empire itself or the remnants down here, um, countries like the United States, Germany. Um, so this is where we start looking at different countries and their national symbols. Okay, so first I wanted to look at this. This is from blogs.getty.edu. And Getty, this is a museum in California. So they have like a little blog section. And okay, I'm looking into the symbol of the eagle. Okay, from Egypt to Rome. Traits were commonly associate with the evil. Okay, I think that they meant associated. Okay. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Traits we commonly associate with the eagle, such as strength, shrewdness, and leadership, emerged in ancient Egypt over 4,000 years ago. Okay, so it sounds like, and there it may even go further back. Who knows? But it looks like this is like the beginning of this eagle imagery. The Romans appropriated eagle imagery when they conquered Egypt in 300 BC. They may have mistaken portrayals of Egypt's patron deity, Horus, who took the form of a falcon, for an eagle. At his birth, Horus was thought to have flown to the heavens and brought back light to a kingdom full of darkness, a feat that made him the symbol of an ideal ruler. The Romans incorporated this symbolic meaning into their own culture in 107 BC. Roman general Gaius Marius designated the eagle as the emblem of the Roman army, representing Rome as the ideal ruler in the global sphere. Now, it's interesting that this symbol um, became their symbol just about 100 years before Christ. You know, I would have thought that it would have maybe been there since the beginning of the empire, but no, just 100 years before Christ. So that's interesting. So they, according to this, the Romans got it from the Egyptians. They may have mistaken Horus for an eagle, which Horus was actually a falcon. And so this became a symbol of the Roman army, but also for the whole empire, right? Okay, so that's what Getty had to say about that. Now we're at Reading Museum. Why an eagle? In ancient Rome, the eagle was known as the king of the birds. It was a symbol of imperial power and therefore represented courage, strength, and immorality. the eagle remains one of the most famous animal symbols associated with ancient Rome today. All right. Now, famously, that Germany, its symbol has been the eagle. You think back to World War II and what was going on there, the different imagery and stuff. So, the German Empire of 1871 to 1918 had reintroduced the medieval coat of arms of the Holy Roman Emperors as used during the 13th and 14th centuries. Um, and then that, when we're talking about the Holy Roman Empire, we're not talking about the first Roman Empire. We're talking about I'll just read it. The Holy Roman Empire. So this is not what you're thinking of, what a lot of people think of as the Roman Empire. This is a later thing. The Holy Roman Empire was a political entity in Western, Central, and Southern Europe that developed during the early Middle Ages and continued until its dissolution in 1806 during the Napoleonic Wars. And here's a map right here of it. In fact, it's a animation. Uh, generally, generally, you think of this as, if there was a Germany back then, the way that we think of it today, this was basically Germany essentially. You see Germany right here. It's kind of like the heartland of this political entity, this empire, right? The exact term Holy Roman Empire was not used until the 13th century, but the emperor's legitimacy was always rested on the concept of translatio imperii, that he that he held supreme power inherited from the ancient emperors of Rome. The imperial office was traditionally elective through the mostly German prince electors. Okay, so the Holy Roman Empire, they have this double-headed eagle symbol. Okay, and it has that tradition of. It's almost like it was like a revival attempt of the original Roman Empire, is the way that I see it. But I'm not too keen on the history of this, so don't. And it went from about 800 AD until 1806. Okay, here are different countries that have eagles on their flags. We have Albania, Mexico, Serbia, Moldova, and interestingly, Egypt. Modern day Egypt. I didn't look into why that is. Um I doubt that they're calling back to Horus, but I don't know the history of this, but it's interesting that Egypt, the modern day state of Egypt, has an eagle on its flag. Kazakhstan, here's the eagle right there. I also went over here. This is a Wikipedia article that has essentially the national animals for every country, what's considered the national animal. So I looked for eagles. You have Indonesia, they have the Javan hawk eagle. So I don't know if that really counts. The golden eagle of Mexico, harpy eagle of Panama, Philippines. They have an eagle. It's the Philippine eagle. Poland, the white-tailed eagle. Russia, the double-headed eagle. So that's kind of similar to, you know, well, anyway. Um, Serbia, white eagle. Looks like that's also a double-headed eagle. And you guys, I know the whole thing with the double-headed eagle, but when it comes to like secret combinations and stuff like that, but I'm not going to go into that. The United States, of course, the bald eagle. All right, and that's what we have. Let's look at the United States and how this happened. This is from livescience.com. The bald eagle was officially adopted as the emblem of the United States 5 years later in 1787. Okay, 1787. The bald eagle was chosen because of its association with authority and statehood. In fact, the eagle had been used as a symbol of governmental power since Roman times. And then on history.com, this is interesting. I knew that not Thomas Jefferson, that Benjamin Franklin wanted the turkey to be the bird of the United States, which I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. I really like turkeys. We we currently have 3 turkeys, and I like them. Anyway, the bald eagle's role as a national symbol is linked to its 1782 landing on the Great Seal of the United States. Shortly after the Declaration of Independence was signed on the 4th of July, 1776, the Continental Congress gave Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams the job of designing an official seal for the new nation. However, the 3 founding fathers failed to come up with a design that won Congress's approval, as did 2 later committees that were given the task. In mid-June 1782, the work of all 3 committees was handed over to Charles Thomson, the Secretary of Congress. Thomson chose what he thought were the best elements of the various designs and made the eagle, which had been introduced by artistically inclined Pennsylvania lawyer William Barton as a design submitted by the Third Committee, more prominent. Since ancient times, the eagle has been considered a sign of strength. Roman legions used the animal as their standard or symbol. So that's where it comes from for the United States, and it's something to think about. It's something to think about. So I'm going to spend more time on this and see, does it necessarily have to do with the United States? You see, my problem with it is that just like these other timelines, the ones that try and interpret and calculate, 3.5 years and 7-year tribulation period and all these different things, I really don't think that any prophecy was given for us to calculate. It's going to happen by 2030, or it's going to happen by 2024, or it's going to happen exactly when this president dies, or whatever the case may be. I really do not think that the scriptures were ever given to us to use in that way. The church doesn't do it. There are people that have done it. I went over the story of Father Miller of the Millerite movement. He put together this timeline based on all these different things, the 70 weeks of Daniel, the 1,260 days, 1,290 days, 1,335 days, 42 months, 3.5 years, times and a half, blah 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 blah. He tried to put together a timeline, and Joseph Smith was aware of it, and he said that the Lord has not given a way to calculate in the scriptures the time of his coming. And there's the temptation to be like, well, not the exact time, but maybe we could calculate it to the year, or maybe to a 5-year period. I still don't think so. I'm going with Joseph Smith on that. I don't think that he ever thought that way. I feel like prophecy in the future is usually to warn us to be ready, to warn us of the consequences of our actions. This will happen if you're not righteous, or don't be afraid, these things are going to happen. The judgments are going to come upon the world before the second coming, but don't be afraid. Look forward to it, because the righteous will be preserved. I think that that's really the point of prophecy, is simply to help us have an idea what's going to happen, so we're not completely blindsided, to help us be spiritually ready for certain things that are going to happen, and to give us assurance that the Lord wins in the end. Okay, because some people get really afraid, and they look at all the evil that's happening, and then they give too much credit, I think, to Satan, to his followers, to the modern day Getty robbers. And they come up with really scary scenarios, but because of prophecy, we know that that's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to, they're not going to, they may succeed at some things, but ultimately they don't win, they lose. So that's one of the important things about prophecy. It's about hope, it's about preparedness, and it's to help us not be surprised when things happen. Um, so I mean that might be oversimplifying it, but I think that's generally what prophecy is for. It's not for us to calculate so that our curiosity can be satisfied, and so we can be like, oh, yep, 2030, that's the year. Um, or after uh, after Biden's presidency, then we know that this is next and this. No, I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Again, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to see if this could apply in any way to Rome itself. Could it apply to other things? Just I don't know. We're going to look at it closer. But that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it. If you have any mission photos that you would like to share and have at the beginning of a video, send it to my email. My email is in the description of every video. Make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions. Also make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.